All right, what's going on, guys and girls? This video is about taking a backup in Azure. So let's get rolling here. If you log onto the portal and up in search here, you're going to search for virtual machines, and you're going to select virtual machines. You're going to pick your validator. It may look like this. It may have a different name depending on how you set it up. So you're going to open that, and in the blade here, you're going to go down to backup and disaster recovery and select backup. All right, so you've got this welcome to Azure backup for Azure VMs, and we're going to create a new backup. So you're going to give it a name. Okay. Yep. All right. So you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. With regards to the resource group, if you use my Terraform deployment script, then leave it as RG validator because that's where your node is. If you have your own resource group that you created, you can put this vault resource in the same resource group as your node. You may have standard as an option to tick here. I do not, because my VM has a more secure feature for virtual machines in Azure, which is called Trusted Launch, and also have a premium SSD, but this is fine. I would pick enhanced regardless. So you pick enhanced, and then you're going to come down here and you're going to select under choose backup policy. We're going to click on edit this policy. Okay, so first thing is you're going to give it a name. Okay, something like that. Okay, here's my 2 cents on this, and you can do it how you want to do it when it comes to the frequency of the backups. Here are your options in the enhanced policy: hourly, daily, or weekly. Now, for a validator, a blockchain node, doing an hourly backup for me, there's no, I don't see a need for it. The validator itself is not going to change on an hourly basis. The blocks will, but if you lost your node, it failed, and you need to recover from a backup, you could do that and then sync the blocks that you'd missed in the period that you were down. And you don't need an hourly backup to achieve that. If you were down for, well, if you had a backup from even 7 days ago, you recovered and you were missing 500,000 blocks, you should be able to sync that in a very short amount of time. It's not worth it to me to create hourly backups because nothing is changing within Linux other than those blocks I mentioned. Another point here is cost. As you increase the backups, it's going to increase the cost as well. So that's a factor. The last, and to me actually probably the most important point here, is that backups are intensive against an operating system, whether it's Linux, Windows, whatever it is. The backups that run here, which we're going to do, take an hour, and you're going to increase load against that validator when that happens. So I want to try and minimize that, because having your instance under load could affect its performance on the chain. So weighing up all those factors for me, I'm going to go weekly here. And again, you may pick daily. I'd argue that hourly is just an overkill. Maybe you want to go daily, but still, I think weekly is probably the best at where we're at today. So in saying that, I then will look at potentially what day of the week and what time of that day of the week is going to be the least busiest in crypto. Um, because we're 7 days a week, 24/7. So I picked for mine 2 a.m. Sunday morning, and I went for Eastern, Eastern Standard Time. Right, so that's when it's going to kick off once a week. The frequency once a week, Sunday morning, 2 a.m. Yeah, it takes about an hour and a half for these to run, at least from what I saw. Now, the next feature here in Azure is this thing called an instant restorer, and that's essentially a snapshot. And so the lowest you can go here is 5. Sort of the retention on the backup. I'm going to go for 7 because I want to retain each one of these faster instant restore snapshot types for 7 days. All right, so then the last field that you have to fill in here for the actual backups on the vault side of the backups gets a little confusing here, but this value I set for 3 weeks. So I'm gonna keep each of the backups that I take on the Sunday morning at 2 a.m. I'm gonna keep them for 3 weeks, and then they get deleted. I don't need 100 backups. I'm really probably in the very slight chance I need to restore this. I'm gonna use the latest one, but I don't want to just have one. I want to have 3 essentially. I think this is going to give me always has 3 to pick from, which is more than enough in my opinion. So that's my configuration. You can pause it, you can read through it, and decide for yourself. But that's where I'm going with that. All right, so I have now my policy set up, and then you can see the details and summary here. Every Sunday morning at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard. I'm going to keep a retainer instant snapshot. This is actually a faster way to recover. So it's going to keep that for 7 days. And then the retention of the vault backup, I'm going to keep it for 3 weeks. I'm going to have at least 3 backups. Or excuse me, the backups are going to retain each of the ones that get run on Sunday. They're going to stay around for 3 weeks. If I scroll down here, it says disk selection, and it says disks. I only have a single 256 gig disk, so I definitely want to include that. And any future disks, I'm just going to leave that ticked. All right, let's go and enable that backup now. So it is deploying that vault, and I can see that it's still in progress. All right, so I think I'm going to jump to the vault itself now that got created. So I'm going to click on this vault here and just take a look. So once you click on the actual Recovery Services Vault, which is the name of the vault we created, you're going to scroll down here in the left-hand side, and you're going to click on backup, I believe. Excuse me, on backup items. So under protected items, click on backup items, and then here you're going to see this Azure Virtual Machine backup count 1, which makes sense because there's one VM. If you have 2, you got to do this on a second one, etc. And you can use the same vault. So you're going to click on Azure Virtual Machine now, and under here you're going to see the name of it, what resource group it's in. It's going to do this pre-check, but it's going to say here the last backup status is warning, we're still waiting for an initial backup. It's pending, which makes sense because I'm running this video on a Tuesday, and if I left this, then on Sunday morning at 2 a.m. it would do its first backup. So I'm going to click here on View Details, and so now you can see that, yeah, it gives us the same information basically that a backup has not started here. So yeah, so what I'm going to do, as I said, if I waited until Sunday morning at 2 a.m. Eastern Standard, it would then initiate its first backup. This would go away, and you'd have a line item down here, right, of the backup. But what you can do is, if you don't want to wait for that, you can click on this backup now. You can give it a retention period, which would be like a month from now. And then I can click on OK, and then it's going to trigger a backup right now. Now that's going to take a long time to run, so we're not going to wait for that. But before I jump across and show you one that I already have running, I'm just going to look through this pricing calculator here. Okay, so once you go to just search Google for pricing calculator for Azure, you can come in here and type in backup, and then you're going to click on Add to Estimate. All right, so you're going to put in your region, the type of backup. It's an Azure VM because you only have one. You can put in 2 here of VMs if you have 2 or 3 or 4 nodes. 256 gig is the size of the disk. So there's a single one-off monthly fee of $10, just a protection to use the service. Okay. So in here we selected 3 weeks for the weekly retention. And that one, we're not doing daily backups, but it actually defaults to 7. Let's change this instant snapshot to 7 as well. And you can see here that the cost here is monthly is $31 per month. Now, what you can do is you can change this redundancy or this to what's called from GRS to LRS, which is local redundant storage instead of global redundant storage, or geo redundant storage. And so let's have a look at that. So it's a price difference of $7. It's not that much. The difference between these two is there's 3 copies in the 3 copies in the single region within the deployment region, in this case East US, versus GRS, which is 6 copies, 3 in the local one, and then the pairing region would be the West Coast, and there'd be 3 in those, and it just creates a better, more copies, more redundancy. So if East US Azure region goes down, then there's 3 more copies on the West Coast for you. Very unlikely, but if you want to save yourself $7, then the default, you can change that. It's a little confusing here. I'm probably going to throw a lot of people off here, but you go back into the vault, you go to properties, you come down here under, one sec, properties, and then you're going to go to backup configuration, and you're going to change it here. But you've got to do it before you configure all that backup, like I showed you. So if you already did it, you're probably going to delete all that again and start again. But that's where you change it. You're going to save yourself $7 changing it from the default geo to local. Okay, so from there, I'll show you here is here is one that I've been running for a little while, and you can see here that I have a couple of backups here, and this is what it looks like. I think I did this one for 2 weeks instead of the 3 weeks, which I think is probably just a bit better to create maybe 3 copies, because you can see it's only 2 copies. But each of the Sundays, 3:10, it ran. 7 days before, you can see it ran. It started at 2 a.m. So this was the first one here, and this one, excuse me, I think this one was the first one. Vault, and then this one is a snapshot in a vault. But yeah, so I think with the 3 weeks it's a little better. Maybe you just get 3 instead of 2. But but from there, if you ever needed to come and restore the actual virtual machine itself, like if you got into trouble, you would come into here, and you'd see your actual backups here, and you'd click on Restore VM, and then you select the restore point, and then you have these options here. So you would always prefer to pick the one that has the snapshot, the instant restore, because that's going to be a lot faster than the vault. And then you would click on OK here, and it would restore that. And it would just do another copy over, and you'd then have to run, some of the commands to bring the node back up and to sync it again. But we can help out with that, but it's just as long as you've got the backups and you can do the recovery, then you should be good to go. Yeah, so hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions around the backup, but let me just see real quick and see where we're at with this one. If I go down to backup items, yeah, so it's still going. So that's going to take a while. That's going to take a couple of hours, or no, excuse me, an hour, hour and a half. So there's nothing. It's running. It triggered. So yeah. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye for now.